At my mother's birthday celebration, everything appeared completely ordinary. Then my 10-year-old daughter called me on the phone saying, "Leave immediately." I asked, "What happened?" Her voice trembled as she insisted, "Get out of the house right now." I obeyed without hesitation. That was the final time I ever set foot inside my parents' home. 3 months later, they were desperately pleading for my forgiveness. It was just a simple birthday, nothing exceptional. A pastel-themed gathering with paper napkins scattered around. My mother had prepared her usual fruit tart, the one she makes when she wants to seem effortless yet still superior. My father was telling one of his familiar stories about how difficult life had been in the past. My sister Bianca showed up with balloons, pretending she hadn't spent the entire morning yelling at her children. In short, everything felt perfectly normal. The kind of routine normalcy you stop noticing when you live surrounded by it. The same scents, the same voices, familiar rhythms, some laughter, a few complaints. My daughter Chloe had disappeared somewhere, likely off to play or read. There were cupcakes on the table, inexpensive wine, soft music playing in the background, no drama, no shouting, no tension detectable in the air. I wasn't even consciously thinking. I was simply present, drifting through the scene, keeping my head low and my mouth closed like I had trained myself to do. Keep things light. Avoid bringing up difficult subjects. Smile as if fatigue doesn't exist. Play along with it all. Looking back now, I want to shake myself. How did I fail to sense it? How was I oblivious to the subtle signs that something was wrong? But I wasn't. If anything, I believed things were slowly improving. Perhaps we had all finally found some kind of calm. I even noticed myself smiling once or twice. Then suddenly, my phone rang. I pulled it out of my pocket and stared at the screen. It was my daughter Chloe calling. That felt unusual. Normally, she would come find me if she needed something. I glanced around but didn't see her anywhere. Maybe she was upstairs or out in the backyard. I answered, "Hey, what's going on?" Her voice hit me suddenly, intense and urgent. "Get out now." I froze. Even though the room kept moving, I stopped as if the atmosphere had changed entirely. "What happened?" I asked. "Just leave the house, please, right now." Her voice trembled. She was whispering and sounded frightened. I rose slowly. My mind first went blank, then filled with noise. What is happening? Did anyone hurt her? Did she fall? Is someone inside? Without waiting for more answers, I stepped outside the front door. I didn't speak to anyone, ignored the snack table and my mom's bright smile. I even skipped checking my shoes. It felt like my body was taking control, as if I was a bystander watching myself walk. The air outside was still warm, filled with the scent of freshly cut grass and cheap perfume. There she was, standing by the driveway, with her backpack slung over one shoulder, her eyes fixed on mine. She was neither crying nor moving. For a moment my heart stopped completely. Then reality hit me all at once. I hurried over. "What's happening? What's wrong? Can we leave?" She said, "I don't want to talk here. Just get in the car." I observed her hands, her face, and the manner in which she gripped the straps of her bag. She showed no signs of injury, yet she appeared empty inside. "Did someone shout at you?" I inquired. "Did anyone say something to you?" "No," she replied. "Not really. Please, just let's leave." I agreed silently. My voice failed me. I simply turned, unlocked the car, and got in. We drove away quietly. Not swiftly, not with any drama, just disappearing. Nobody noticed our departure. Or if they did, nobody intervened. She gazed out the window. I kept a firm hold on the steering wheel. My mind scrambled to fill in missing pieces. Did she overhear something? Was she harmed? Threatened? Could it have been one of the other kids? My mother? My father? Every possibility seemed worse than the last. I longed to ask more but held back. We pulled into a deserted parking area near an old garden shop a few blocks away. It was closed and silent. I shut off the engine and sat still. "All right," I finally said softly. "We are alone now. You can tell me what happened." She remained silent. I glanced at her. Her hands lay folded in her lap as she kept looking straight ahead. After a pause, she spoke. "I don't want to return. Not to Grandma's. Not to Grandpa's. Not to that house. Not ever again." It felt like the air had been knocked out of me. Her tone held no anger or drama. It was calm and truthful. The way you say something after deciding long ago and carrying it in your mind for hours before speaking it aloud. "I don't understand," I whispered. "I thought everything was okay. What happened?" She just shook her head. "Please do not make me return." I sat there staring at the steering wheel, struggling to make sense of it all, trying to piece together the puzzle without even seeing the signs. "I will not," I said at last. "I will not take you back there." And that was the end of it. She did not explain. I did not press. We just sat quietly, me wondering how I missed whatever it was she had noticed, her silently fighting to keep herself together beside me. I kept rewinding the day in my mind, reviewing every glance, every word, every moment I had overlooked, and found nothing. That frightened me the most. I had not seen it coming. I lived in that house. I knew those people. I thought I did. Yet she had seen something that made her want to run away. And I will never forget how she sounded on the phone, as if her very survival depended on leaving, as if mine did too. But before any of that, there was a life that brought us here. I was the eldest of two sisters. You might think that means authority, leadership, maybe even some favoritism. Not in my family. In my family, being the firstborn meant you were the test subject, the child to find out what happens if we do this. When I turned 15 and got a job at the local bakery, my parents applauded as if I had just won a prize. Not because they were proud, but because now I could help cover the expenses. "We all contribute in this house," my parents said. My mom dismissed my objections when I wanted to buy a pair of jeans. She said, "By 16, I was already giving half my paycheck and working weekend shifts that no one asked me to take." I told myself that it was noble, family-oriented, maybe even mature. Then my sister reached the same age. She had no job, no responsibilities, no talk of contributing. She got to sleep late and hang out at the mall with her friends while I was scrubbing dishes and working overtime. Once, I asked my mom gently why this was. She replied, "She's just not made the same way as you," as if I was some standard factory model and my sister a delicate porcelain doll. So I accepted it. I didn't want to seem petty or cause problems. Besides, I was managing fine. I had plans and believed I had a future. Or so I thought. I got married young, probably too young, but I was convinced I was happy. My husband Vincent had that low-energy, passive charm that makes you think he is easygoing. But he wasn't. I worked a lot and had a great job. Better than great. Long hours, a solid paycheck, and a strong reputation. Vincent was only part-time. He said he wanted to spend more time with Chloe. He claimed I was better suited for the career side of things anyway. At the time, that arrangement suited me, and I didn't question it. I didn't realize how quickly such imbalance can start to feel normal. Then things began to change slowly. He grew short-tempered, distant, and snapped more often. Being around him felt like walking on fragile glass. Nothing broken yet, but you could feel the cracks under your feet. The impact spilled over, not only affecting me but our daughter as well. There was no physical violence, no bruises, yet the shouting, the slamming of doors, the prolonged silences, and whispered threats just low enough to deny were constant. The breaking point came with the bottle. He hurled it across the room. It did not strike anyone. "I did not mean to," he said afterward. But our daughter had been standing in the hallway when the glass shattered. She recoiled so violently that the mug she held slipped from her grasp, and something inside me shattered too. I did not wait to witness what would happen next. I packed a bag, took my daughter, and left. I returned to a place I never imagined needing again. Home. Although it technically was home, it no longer felt like it. My parents took us in, yet right from the start, it was obvious this came with conditions. Moving back meant sacrificing my job. There was no feasible way to maintain my previous schedule as a single mother. Court appointments, trauma therapy sessions, school pickups, and a child who had started to flinch at sudden sounds made it impossible. In my profession, part-time roles are as rare as mythical creatures. I settled for a flexible but painfully low-paid job. It was enough to get by, not enough to truly live, and far from sufficient to support anyone else. This posed a major problem because, for years, I had been the golden provider. When I still earned well, I sent money monthly to my parents, handled major bills, and discreetly covered smaller ones. I even paid for their all-inclusive holiday in Portugal 2 summers ago. They still reminisce as though it was the best experience of their lives. When the income stopped coming in, their way of life took a noticeable downturn. It was subtle but clear. They were not happy, not overtly, but in the small things. The way my mother sighed as she examined the grocery receipt. The way my father mentioned the water bill multiple times every week. Suddenly they forgot to include me in the family group chat, and the house was crowded. My sister and her spouse lived there as well, along with their 2 toddlers who had the energy of sugar-fueled raccoons and no control over their volume. They lived there essentially rent-free. My parents adored them, cared for them, babysat, and boasted about them. So I figured, if she can stay with her lively household, then I should be able to stay too, right? But it felt wrong. From the very beginning, I sensed a change. My daughter's artworks were not displayed on the fridge for more than a day. Her plate was taken away before she finished eating. She once got reprimanded for talking too much when all she had done was laugh at a cartoon. There were barriers, not from everyone, but enough to create distance. She noticed it as well, naturally. She stopped spending time downstairs and clung to me more tightly. She asked if we could get our own place soon. I reassured her that we would, that this was only temporary, that family was supposed to be there to support us. I truly believed that until the day she called me and told me to leave the house. We sat in the car beneath a lonely little tree in a quiet parking lot. My hands rested on the steering wheel, yet I had no intention of driving away. Finally I spoke. "Can you explain what happened?" She did not hesitate this time. "Grandma, Grandpa, and Aunt, they do not want me here." She said they were having a conversation while I was in the bathroom. They did not realize I could overhear. I looked straight ahead and let her continue speaking. They mentioned they were planning to send me back to my father, believing I would be better off there, that they had some scheme in motion. She said it as if sharing mere facts, like talking about the weather, nothing personal. "I do not want to go," she added, still staring out the window. "I do not want to be near him." I said nothing. She had just learned of a plan to return her to the man I had taken her from, and I had been completely unaware. When I was a child, I imagined betrayal would be loud, like a sudden cry of surprise with a knife raised. Instead, it was softer, more subtle. Sometimes it hides behind bathroom tiles and seeps through thin walls. Sometimes it is whispered by the very people who raised you. I looked at her silently. They said, "What?" She did not blink. "They planned to make you lose me." They were speaking in the kitchen while I was trapped in the bathroom. They did not know I was listening. I waited, unwilling to move. They said you would lose custody anyway, and they could speed things up, mentioning father would care better for me. If I returned to him, then you could go back to your old job and start assisting them again. I tried to speak, but no words came out. They said you would be better off. She stopped for a moment. They said they might plant something in your belongings, drugs perhaps, to make you look bad, and then call child services. There was silence. They want to blame me. She simply nodded, her lips tightly sealed and pale as if drained of color. Are you certain? They said it, Mom. They said everything. That I am overwhelming, that I just never stop talking, that the house feels crowded when it once was peaceful. They declared that you have no purpose anymore, and he was always the preferred parent. I sensed something change within me, not breaking, not falling apart, but shifting. She said, so I gathered what I could. There are two. I left. I contacted you. I glanced at her small backpack on the car floor. She remembered my charger. I was ready to lose control, but I turned the ignition and drove away. I did not return. Not for clothes, not for explanations, not even for my toothbrush. I drove straight to Chris's place. Chris and I have been friends since we were 10, never romantically involved, just one of those rare friendships, a platonic male best friend who shows up, stays quiet, and always has extra toothpaste. He opened the door holding a coffee and wearing only one sock. I need a place to crash, I said. He glanced at me, then at my daughter, and silently stepped aside. That is why he remains part of my life. That night we slept on his couch. Chloe curled up beside me, unusually quiet for a child. I stared at the ceiling, counting the spins of the fan, fighting the urge to scream. My phone vibrated 17 times. I did not check it even once. The following morning, I tried to act normal. I brushed my hair and found pairs of socks that I almost finished packing my daughter's lunch and slipped in a napkin with a poorly drawn cat. I kissed her cheek and told her, "You are courageous." She nodded silently. No smile, just pure bravery. We walked to school, and there they were, of course, my parents standing by the gate like some sort of gang, but with tote bags and that fake polite tension people show when they're about to say something terrible. My daughter froze. "It is fine," I said. "Go inside. I will handle this." She ran away. I turned to face them. "Where have you been?" my mom snapped. No greeting, no hug, no apology. "I think you already know," I replied. "We have been calling all night," my dad added. "You vanished with her." "I did not vanish," I said. "I rescued my daughter from a place where people planned to ruin my life." My mom blinked in surprise. "Excuse me," I said without hesitation. "You were overheard in the kitchen while you laid out your little custody trap." "That is ridiculous," she said quickly. She must have misunderstood. Did she misunderstand the part about trying to plant drugs on me? Her mouth opened and closed. A flush rose up her neck. "We were just discussing hypotheticals," she muttered. "You have been under a lot of stress. You quit your job. The custody battle is going nowhere. You have been trying," I interrupted firmly. "I have been trying while you were busy scheming my downfall because your spa weekends ran out." "That is not fair," my dad said. "We have helped you." I laughed, actually laughed. "You gave me shelter. After all those years when I covered your expenses, booked you both a week in the city, and bought that stubborn espresso machine," my mother's gaze sharpened. "This is not just about money now. It's about loyalty," I said. "Loyalty you traded away for a better chance at holidays." My father responded calmly. "We only wanted what was best for her. You are always quarreling." He always treated her kindly. Then suddenly, he threw a bottle against the wall while she was still in the room. I lost it and said, "He was not a father figure. He was a danger. And you knew that well." My mother crossed her arms and accused me of being emotional and exaggerating. I replied, I am finished with this. I will not let you twist everything again. You tried to sabotage my custody battle. You tried to erase me as a mother so you could return to your comfort zone. There was a heavy silence as I looked at them both. If you want comfort, you will have it. From now on, you will never hear from me again. Not a message, not a visit, not a part of me. My father said, Don't be so dramatic. I turned to him and said, You have no idea what drama is, then walked away. That evening, Chris found me in his kitchen holding a mug of untouched tea tightly in my arms. Are you all right? He asked softly. No, I answered, but at least I know my place. My daughter appeared wearing her pajamas, clutching the crumpled bad cat doodle napkin. She said nothing but sat beside me, resting her head on my arm. I didn't cry, not because I was not hurt, but because I was too drained to. I had lost my parents, or maybe I had finally let go. They admitted they were never truly mine to lose. What I hadn't lost was sitting right beside me, and I would set the entire world on fire before allowing anyone to take her away again. You might expect that after all the chaos we had been through, I would have learned to stay calm when things quieted down. But I hadn't. Silence, I realized, was just betrayal holding its breath. It had been weeks since we last heard from my parents. No calls, no threats, no distant relative checking in on us. Just complete stillness. Chris called it peace. I called it suspicious. Chloe was gradually improving. She was finally sleeping again, eating again. She began creating strange little comics about wolves fighting snakes, and I didn't ask any questions because every single one ended with the wolf triumphing and curling up in a den with her cub. That was good enough for me. I was still staying at Chris's place, though I say still, as if I had some arrangement ready to sign. I didn't have anything sorted out. And Chris, bless him, had never once suggested that we were overstaying our welcome. He made pancakes for Chloe and coffee for me, saying things like, You can stay as long as you need. And slowly I started to believe he truly meant it. Then the job offer arrived. It was flexible, paid well, and I wouldn't have to sacrifice my soul or give up time with my child just to afford cheese again. I didn't cry when I got it. Instead, I locked myself in the bathroom and laughed until I coughed. That job represented the first piece of the life I had lost coming back to me. The positive side was clawing its way back, and of course, that was the moment I came across the pictures. I was not even snooping intentionally. I just opened Instagram to see if Chloe's school had shared any news about the art exhibition. And there they were, my parents, relaxing on a beach with Vincent. Vincent was sunburned and grinning as if he personally knew the judge. Bianca was there as well, wearing a smug expression like a soaked cat, clutching a coconut drink as if it were undeniable proof in court. The caption read, Family first. Proud of the kind of father he is to our granddaughter. I did not drop the phone. I just stared at it for a moment, then turned the screen toward Chris and said, Well, that clears up why they have been so silent. They are simply sunbathing their betrayal. He remained silent for a while, then handed me a cookie. That is why I love him. 2 days later, Child Protection Services arrived. They knocked at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday. I opened the door while only half dressed. Chloe was brushing her teeth, and Chris was somewhere in the back trying to fix a leaking faucet using what seemed like the smallest wrench on earth. The woman at the door said, We received a report, holding a clipboard. Her colleague stood just behind her, eyeing the hallway as if we might be hiding illegal substances in a plant pot. I did not have to ask who reported us, but I did anyway. She replied, It was your parents. Of course it was. They said I had run off with Chloe, that I was unstable, had no permanent residence, and that I was involving strange men in my daughter's life. The person who cared, I assumed it was Chris, was currently in the kitchen pouring juice into a cup shaped like a unicorn horn. They searched the bedrooms, asked Chloe a few questions, examined the fridge, found nothing, and said we would only hear back if any further steps were necessary. I thanked them with the enthusiasm of a crumpled sandwich bag. Then I went into the bathroom and threw up. The following day, I sat across from my lawyer as he prodded a salad and said things like, "This is serious, Vanessa." "No kidding," I muttered. He explained that if my parents testified on Vincent's behalf in the custody case, now only days away, it would be damaging. "They are close family," he said. "They know you well. If they describe you as unstable, it will carry weight." I looked at my lawyer, who once wore a flamingo tie to mediation, and asked, "Do you think I will lose her?" He sighed. "Not if she speaks." That night, Chloe asked me if she would have to talk in court. I told her yes if she wanted to stay with me. She did not even flinch. She simply said good and went back to drawing her wolf comic. This one featured snakes wearing grandmother wigs. The courtroom reeked of air freshener and deception. Vincent arrived wearing a suit so rigid it seemed to be wearing him. My parents came in behind him, sitting behind his chair as if they belonged to him now. Bianca didn't even glance my way. Chloe sat beside me, nervously swinging her legs. Chris gave me a half-hearted smile. I remained seated at the back, a silent presence. The initial day was harsh. My parents took the stand and claimed I was moody and emotionally unstable. My mother insisted I had always been overly sensitive. My father nodded as if he were part of a documentary called How to Destroy Your Daughter in Court. Bianca supported their statements. She spoke highly of Vincent, saying he was a devoted father who stayed at home and cared for Chloe. She described him as endlessly patient. I wanted to rise and scream, then why did I ever leave him? Yet I stayed silent, fingernails digging into my palm as they painted a version of me that felt foreign. Finally, it was Chloe's turn. She approached the stand with the confidence of giving a school presentation. She looked directly at the judge, avoiding her father's eyes. "I want to live with my mom," she declared. "She listens to me and makes me feel safe. She has never raised her voice at me." When asked about Vincent, she hesitated before sharing, "He gets angry. He throws things. Once, he even threw a bottle." That frightened me. A heavy silence followed. Then she said, "I don't want to live with him. I don't feel safe." They questioned if anyone else ever made her uneasy. My grandmother and aunt admitted they wanted me to live with him and were determined to separate me from my mother. They confessed they would plant evidence in her belongings to cause her trouble. The courtroom fell utterly silent. I was not crying. Tears simply wouldn't come. It felt as though I had been immersed in a vacuum. That should have been sufficient. Yet fate had more in store. During the recess, Vincent approached my mother. They were arguing fiercely. I could not catch the words, but I noticed the movement, his hand gripping her wrist tightly and sharply. She pulled away quickly. My father intervened. Vincent stormed off, and that was the last moment they ever stood close to him again. They never returned to court. My attorney informed me later that they had retracted their statements and that our case was strong enough. We went back to court. My lawyer presented compelling evidence. He revealed the paper trail, the money, the car, the vacation, and the undisclosed assets Vincent had hidden during our divorce. Everything was documented, with receipts and transactions clearly showing he had secured their loyalty, and once the money ended, so did their support. The judge ruled in my favor. I gained full custody with no visitation rights and no contact allowed. Vincent left the courtroom flushed and sweating. My parents did not appear at all. Within a week after the decision, their vacation pictures disappeared from social media. The car vanished. The facade faded away. Chris shared a screenshot of one of my mom's posts before it was taken down. Sometimes family teaches the toughest lessons. I laughed. I actually laughed. Fast forward 1 year. I sometimes still wake up half expecting conflict, but when I look beside me and see Chris snoring into his pillow and Chloe curled up on the other side with her wolf plush, I realize we are safe now. Chris and I ended up together, which surprises me to this day. For the longest time, I never saw him in that way. I had known him since childhood, back when he used to eat. He used to say he would become a firefighter when we were kids, or sometimes joked about being a priest or a scientist when he grew up. I think I had quietly filed him under permanent friend material and never reconsidered. It turns out he had liked me for years. One evening, over burnt toast and cheap wine, he confessed that he kept silent all this time because he was afraid of ruining what we already had. Then something changed. Maybe it was the way he held Chloe's hand during the court session, or that he never tried to fix me but simply stood by my side as I fell apart and slowly put myself back together. Perhaps it was a matter of timing. Perhaps it was everything at once. All I remember is that one night he kissed me, and I kissed him back, and suddenly the world seemed to make more sense. He treats me so well, more kindly than I ever imagined possible. Chloe adores him. He builds cardboard castles with her, listens to her wild theories as if they were sacred truths, and lets her win at video games exactly half of the time. She told him recently, "I'm glad you're part of our pack." He cried quietly in the hallway afterward, denies it now, but I saw for myself. There was one attempt by my parents to mend things between us. One Saturday morning they arrived at our door with pancakes. Real pancakes. As if the smell of betrayal came soaked in syrup. They said they had misunderstood Vincent and hoped we could move beyond everything. Before I could respond, Chris stepped into the corridor, stared them straight in the eyes, and simply said, "You need to leave now." Chloe peeked out and nodded like she was backup. They left immediately. I have not heard from them since then. However, I did catch wind that their situation has been tough. Financially, they are facing difficulties. Some people from their extended family and old friends have severed connections after discovering what they attempted to do. Apparently, trying to frame your daughter to secure a free babysitter and vacation expenses is not well received at the Bridge Club. As for me, I am doing well. Actually, much better than okay. I have a steady job that I enjoy, a daughter who giggles in her sleep, and a partner who makes me feel secure in ways I didn't realize I needed. It may not be glamorous or flawless, but it is mine, and I will fight fiercely to protect it. Did I cross a line or not go far enough? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you have not yet, please subscribe.